My name is Dan Overton. I am the Washington Department of Veterans Affairs Traumatic Brain Injury Specialist. And back there is Heather, and she is the Outreach Coordinator for Eastern Washington University. And we are both here today to talk to you about traumatic brain injury and our veterans. It may seem like one of those things, they seem like one of those things that is a small niche of people, and we're kind of here to tell you it's probably a bit larger than you may think that it was before you got here. Our objective is to try and describe to you the extent of the problem, what you can do about it, and some resources that will help you out. Just to start off with, I pulled this from a recent article. The recent military doctors often miss traumatic brain injury in our soldiers. One of the military tests, which is the MACE test, fails to catch as many as 40% of concussions, which is from a recent study. A second exam on which the Pentagon has spent millions yields results that top medical officials call about as reliable as a coin flip. Even when military doctors do diagnose head injuries, that information often does not make it into a soldier's permanent medical record. Handheld medical devices designed to transmit data have often failed in the austere terrain of war zones. Paper records from Iraq and Afghanistan have been lost, burned, or abandoned in warehouses, and officials say where no one knew where to ship them. Without diagnosis and official documentation, soldiers with head wounds have often had to battle for appropriate treatment. Some receive psychotropic drugs instead of reliable therapy, and others have received no treatment at all or have been branded as malingerers. Malingering meaning you're making it up all in your head, not a head injury, but symptoms that you're experiencing. That's why I seem to be kind of a one-trick pony, and I seem to kind of say the same thing over and over, but I want to encourage that the symptoms are real, the problem is real, these folks are out there, they're in here. In this group, there's folks that may have a head injury and don't know about it. They've had symptoms for a number of years and not really know what it's all about. It's one of those situations where there's things that we can do. 1 in 5 is referring to the number of people that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that have a traumatic brain injury. 1 in 5. That's a lot. Now, people will say that out of those 1 in 5, that most of those people are having mild traumatic brain injuries and will fully recover, to which I say hogwash. First of all, studies and research show that 5 to 15% of everybody with any kind of traumatic brain injury, from mild to major, is going to have ongoing chronic symptoms. 5, we can kind of pass. 15 seems kind of high. So to say that you get 1 concussion, and 15% of those people who receive 1 concussion are going to have chronic symptoms for the rest of their life. That's a big deal. That's a lot of people, especially when you consider that those are people that are in your communities, in your homes, in your schools, and your businesses. So we want to talk about that and how to treat them. Want to talk about this person first. This is Michelle Diarman, and she was a major in the Army Reserves in 2005. She'd been setting up meetings around Baghdad between Army commanders and Iraqi leaders. A roadside bomb exploded right next to her Humvee. A few months later, she was in a second explosion. Over a course of 2.5 years, she received drugs for depression and nightmares. She got physical therapy for her injuries to her back and her neck. A rehab specialist gave her a computer program to help her with her memory. But it wasn't until she started talking to fellow patients that she heard the term mild traumatic brain injury. As she began to research her symptoms, she asked a neurologist whether the blast might have damaged her brain. By the end of this, I'm hoping that you people will be the people that are like, well, maybe if somebody's talking to you, maybe that's a traumatic brain injury. Maybe you want to talk to Overton or Heather. It's this word of mouth. that is going to be the answer to a lot of the problems that we see with our veterans in TBI in Washington. It's going to be a bottom-up solution, not a top-down one. And that's just from my experience over decades of working with this. It's going to be from the ground up. It's going to be people talking to people. Records show that unfortunately the neurologist dismissed the notion that Diamond's minor head concussions were the source of her troubles and said that her symptoms were likely sustainably attributable to PTSD and migraine headaches. Very common. It was disappointing, she said. It felt like nobody cared. When she was given a diagnosis of traumatic brain injury by the VA later, she felt vindicated and yet cheated all at once. This is her quote: "I put the military first, even before my family and my friends, and now looking back, I wonder if I did the right thing," she said. She said, "I served my country, and now what's my country doing for me?" Today, the former Dean's List student struggles to read a newspaper article. She has pounding headaches. She has trouble remembering the address of the farmhouse where she grew up in the hills of central Pennsylvania. In 2008, after she retired from the Army, VA doctors finally linked her cognitive problems to her head traumas. She returned to her civilian job, inspecting radiological devices for the state, but her colleagues say that she often turns in reports with lots of blanks, but they cover for her. Diamond's 67-year-old father, John, looks after her at home, balancing her checkbook, reminding her to turn the oven on before cooking, and says the joyful, bright child that he raised, the first in his family to attend college, is gone. So if you're serving veterans, or you will, or you're in touch with one, or you are one, or you live with one, chances are you're dealing with veterans that have some level of traumatic brain injury. If you haven't, you will.
Did you say that hers was mild or more extreme?
I'm sorry?
Would you say that her TBI was mild or more extreme?
Her TBI was that, and that's one of the issues. The majority, the reports suggest 70 to 80% of all traumatic brain injuries are considered mild. Okay? Hers was considered mild. Another word for mild traumatic brain injury is concussion. And I don't want to get too deep into the reads on this. This is Nettie the neuron. Okay? You have 50 billion of these, about, would you say, give or take? About 50 billion of these critters in your head. Okay? This is what helps us do everything. This is the thing that when it is damaged, evaporates, goes away. Not injured. You can't injure Nettie. If you injure Nettie in any way, Nettie goes poof. Okay? So to say that somebody experiences mild traumatic brain injury, I think is a misnomer, personally. Now, this is me. This is just me talking. Okay? People don't like it when I say we should say mild traumatic brain damage. Damage seems to indicate something's not coming back. Nettie's not coming back. We will adapt. We've got this wonderful adaptation called neuroplasticity, which helps us reroute kind of stuff. Because again, we got billions. We were over at the restaurant and I had a beer last night. I'm not afraid to say. I may have evaporated a few Netties. Okay? Just a few. Yeah, I'm going to be fine because just a few Netties, I'm good. But he's not coming back. Right? So there's really nothing to say about the injury like it's going to scar. Or, it's gone. It's damaged where I'm coming from. So I would say that in my vernacular, Major Diamond had mild traumatic brain damage. And that damage was the reason that she had the symptoms that she had. Unfortunately, because it was mild, it was hard to see, except in the symptoms. Let me say that again. It's It's hard to see except for the symptoms. When you put somebody under an MRI or CT scan, I'm going to give you a little explanation here in a second, you're not going to see it. Symptoms are going to be there. So when it's your wife, your brother, your son, the guy you're working with, or you're going to go, I think that might be me. And then you go to the big doctors in big hospitals and they say, well, we did an MRI scan, we don't see anything, so you're fine. You go off feeling like Major Diamond and dismissed. So, if we look at how traumatic brain injury does affect a person in their daily life, think about this for a second. You got 598,000 veterans in the state. As I mentioned earlier, about 1 in 5 of those veterans returning from OEF and OIF sustained some form of TBI. Thousands more from the Vietnam era are undiagnosed. 5 to 15% of those folks, as I mentioned, often are going to have permanent symptoms. They're often aware of the impact that TBI has on their life. And as you can see here, when we look at the healthy brain, your frontal lobe here is, as Barbara was mentioning earlier, executive functioning is all here. So executive is the top level, penthouse kind of stuff. Problem solving, concentration, speech. You're gonna, with a traumatic brain injury, that's going to lead to lack of focus, irritability, and language difficulties. The parietal lobe in here, sense of touch, pain, temperature, you're going to have difficulty reading, spatial misperception. Small, minor things that are on this large continuum of anything from mild to severe. The severe ones is going to be so noticeable. I'm here mainly for the mild guys. I'm here mainly because the mild guys, and guys are going to mean people, are the ones that are looking at these symptoms and they're saying, well, they're mild symptoms, I can manage it. Great, that's super, but we can also help with it. Make sense? So they may have said, the blind spots, no big deal. I got some blind spots, so I got blown up and I got some blind spots. Well, that may be an indication that the head injury is on board and we may be able to help you with other things. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people after the fact and they have these aha moments of, oh my gosh, that explains it, that's what's going on, so now what? And anytime you want to jump in with questions, feel free. So my story in brief, I feel really fortunate to be where I'm at. Reason being is that in my practice as a behavioral health person, I would often come across people who would say, I've been down that road, nothing seems to work, nobody seems to understand what's going on with me. And I am fortunate simply because I've had the opportunity to know and learn that this is out there, so I get to ask the right questions. You ever got unconscious for any reason? You ever got hit in the head? You ever got kind of dazed and confused after a good crack? Anybody ever said you had a concussion? When do these symptoms start? Asking those kinds of questions that lead me to whether this person may have experienced a brain injury or not. Not typical questions that you're going to get from a counselor. But many times that would lead me to this place of, I think all these may be related to you having head injury. And then we can start working in earnest to deal with some of the issues and symptoms that are more related to the problem. Make sense? Sort of, kind of? For example, right before I started with the WDVA, I was the Director of Mental Health for the Quinault Indian Nation. And this young girl came in with her mother because her mother said, something's just not right with her. She's this bright young girl, she's doing really well in school, and then all of a sudden, she's changed, and she's like really emotional, she can't sleep at night, she's not doing well in school, she's failing, she's getting A's. There's just a really severe turnaround. And so I sat with her and we talked about this, we talked about that. We did a typical mental health evaluation. Nothing really significant was coming up. So, again, being fortunate enough to know what I know, I said, well, have you had any accidents lately? Have you been to the emergency room for anything? Have you changed any medications? I said, oh, well, there's that basketball thing. Basketball thing? So yeah. A couple months ago, I got checked really hard at a basketball game, and I fell down and hit the back of my head. Okay, did you lose consciousness? I don't think so. And when they say I don't think so, it's probably a little bit, right? I said, so what did they do? Well, I went to the hospital and they did an X-ray and they said I'm fine. X-ray. I mean, you know, I'm no doctor, but I'm like, an X-ray of the person. If I was to take an X-ray of your brain, I'm looking for like half of it to be like lopsided and off-center and bleeding out of your ear to be able to see damage from an X-ray. So she gets sent home. She's told that she has a minor concussion and she's fine. For the most part, she is. But every single symptom is there for a head injury. Every single solitary one. So it was a matter of being able to catch it and get her to the proper place. She went up to, I want to say Mary Bridge, is that right? The Children's Hospital, and get before a neurologist and a neuropsychologist who were able to say they really missed the boat on that one and get her some proper treatment. So again, I feel very fortunate to be here and doing what I do because, you know, it's an opportunity to have the opportunity to intervene in a spot where there may not have been intervention without people like you knowing what's going on. So, before we go any further, I want to do a little exercise. Sometimes it's very difficult to understand exactly what is going on with head injuries. We talk about, especially when we talk about this mild traumatic brain injury, because people think that they're fine, that they recover. I'm here to tell you recovery and adaptation are two different things. I've dealt with people I mentioned from the Vietnam era. They've adapted wonderfully, but it's adaptation. It's not recovery. So what I'd like to do, and this might be a little difficult, I'd like to try and get us in some groups. And I'm thinking, like groups of maybe 5 or 6, and just kind of, I want you all in a circle, so we're going to need to spread out a little bit. So maybe one here or one there, and just try and find a group and circle up. We're going to do a little exercise. Yeah, you can move, do stuff. Bring
Right. Can we go in your group? All right. Oh, that's okay. I told my hair roll. Sorry.
I would think it could be
Yeah. We're from, I'm from Tri-Cities.
You have to lift up.
Oh, yeah. Look for
And they build on each other.
Yeah, the doctor.
Potentially.
The only fun.
Everybody got something in hand around? Everybody got something in hand around? We're going to be passing things around. We got something to pass around?
We grow brain cells. If you lose it, you lose
Okay.
Share brains.
Okay. So Heather's going to pass them around as I explain.
Based on the
Okay.
assumptions. We need one.
This is a very simple exercise.
Give me one, three. Yes, and this chair. Oh, there's three more.
We need one.
We didn't quite get the shirt.
Well, we're in a.
You guys have none?
We need another one. We need one.
I've got one left.
I lost my brain.
I got one. Thank you.
Oh, they have none.
Oh, you guys do.
I gave my brain up.
Yeah. Oh, there's our TBI. Oh, okay.
Okay, this is a very simple exercise.
Who wrote it?
No. Oh, yeah.
All you need to do is pay attention to what I say. And when I say the word left, you pass to the left. Try that out.
I'm not good at it.
Pass to the left.
Oh.
When I say the word right,
He didn't say that.
you pass to the right. So try that out. Okay? Everybody got it? Really simple instructions. Just pay attention to what I'm saying. And when I say left, oh, some of you are sharp. Okay, good. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. One day, this is the Wright family story. Very good. One day, the Wright family decided to take a vacation. The first thing they had to decide was who would be left at home, since there was not enough room in the Wright family car for all of them. Mr. Wright decided that Aunt Linda Wright would be the one to be left at home. Of course, this made Aunt Linda Wright so mad that she left the house immediately. It will be a Wright cold day before I return. The Wright family bundled up the children, Tommy Wright, Susie Wright, Timmy Wright, and Shelley Wright, and got in the car and left. Unfortunately, as soon as they turned out the driveway, somebody had left a trash bin in the street, so they had to turn right around and stop the car. They told Tommy Wright to get out of the car and move the trash can so they could get going. Tommy took so long that they almost left him in the street. Once the Wright family got back on the road, Mother Wright wondered if she had left the stove on. Father Wright told her not to worry. He had checked the stove and she had not left it on. As they turned right at the corner, everybody started to think about other things they might have left undone.
Oh, God.
No need to worry now. They were off on a Wright fine vacation. When they arrived at the gas station, Father Wright put the gas in the car and then discovered that he had left his wallet at home. So Timmy Wright ran home to get the money that he left behind. As Timmy left, Susan Wright began to feel sick. She left the car. She had to pull up. This, of course, made Mother Wright's attention, and she left the car in a hurry.
Speed up on purpose.
Shelley Wright wanted to watch Susan get sick, so she left the car too. Father Wright was so left, and Tommy Wright, who was playing games. All this going on, Father Wright decided it was not the right time to take a vacation, so he gathered up the family, left the gas station as quickly as he could, and when they arrived home, he turned left into the driveway.
You guys quit?
Mr. Wright was in the house today.
Make him stop. I can't make him stop. He's not gonna listen.
Shall we go again?
A little slower?
So we all have TBI.
Okay. Now,
That one?
simple instructions, right? I asked you to pay attention to what I was saying. So, for a really awesome prize, which I will give you afterwards, because I did not bring them with me, how many children were there in the Wright family?
Four.
0.
Three. Raise your hand, Sue. There are prizes here.
3.
Let's take a guess. I see a 4 right there. You're correct. 4. So you can see me afterwards for a prize. What were their names?
Tommy, Sally, Mary,
Hands.
You did?
Do it. Hey, you got it.
Anybody? The names were Tommy, Susan, Timmy, and Shelley. Who was left at home at the beginning of the story?
Tommy?
No. No.
Grandpa?
No. Close.
Grandma?
Aunt.
There ain't many left.
That's half of it. Linda, Aunt Linda. We'll still get you a prize. Which child ran home to get the money? Nobody. All right. Which child got sick at the gas station? Nobody. Okay, so how did this activity make you feel? Dizzy, rushed, violent, confused,
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed. Basically, that was the point. The overwhelmed is the point. We think that our brain is processing wonderfully because we have adapted to the environment in which our brain exists, not the other way around. Okay? It is that easy to swirl your brain up. Give it a few extra things to do, and suddenly it's like, whoa, 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 slow down, slow down. I can't do all this. And that's with a pretty normal brain. I'm looking around going, okay, pretty normal brain. That's what happens to a person with even potentially a mild traumatic brain injury across the board. Because they're not going to have the same ability to process. Their processor is, and we were just talking about computers, so if you're a computer person, their processor is a 10-year-old processor compared to today's processor. It's simply not going to do it. So when they find themselves in that environment where they are asked to do more, they simply can't. And they will avoid, they will retreat, they will bail out, they will do all kinds of things. And there's a term that we call, I'm not going to have time to go into it this time around, but we call it learned helplessness. That can affect all of us very, very easily and very effectively. Basically the saying that if you are shown that you can't, you tend to give up. Okay? And so these guys are coming back and say, guys, but there's a lot, the inclusive vernacular, they're coming back, they're thinking they're fine. They're getting themselves into situations where their brain is not able to function the way that it's supposed to, and they're giving up. They're giving up on that when they don't need to because of a few little extra helps along the way. Like Major Diamond, we can help them out and help them get back to where they need to get back to. It's not going to be the same, but it doesn't have to just end. Does that make sense? Okay? So go ahead and take your seats. You can stay in your groups, it doesn't matter, but
What do we do with our brain?
use it.
Use it.
That would have been.
I'm sure he'll give me a direction.
He might change his mind.
That's why I can't take all the I felt that Oh, no, I gave up. One thing I remember from Rock Wolf is I can't find a golf ball till it's not rolling.
Yes. Why is that confuse us? Because we want to really, focusing concentration is really important. So when you're asked to you're asking the brain to multitask, sometimes it's like, I can't do it. I need to focus on this rather than this. So I can do the hand thing, but I can't do the thinking thing. And it's it's a great way to mess us up. And so when we talk about the different parts of the brain that might be damaged, when you get to that part, it's like that part's not going to work, so everything else is going to try and make up for it. Is that where you're getting at? Okay. And so one of the really, really common problems, one of the really, really common symptoms is memory problems with folks with TBI. And many people will mistakenly think that the memory is actually based in the brain injury, when actually a lot of it has to do with the ability to pay attention. Without attention, concentration, you don't have memory. You need to be able to pay attention to what you're trying to memorize before you can memorize it. If you don't have the attention, no memory. So it's trying to piece these things apart to see how we can help. All vets do not have TBI, but many do and don't know it. They'll attribute their problems to something else, either adaptive or being told that they're okay. If you've ever heard the term, if you're not bleeding, you're okay. Very common thing, right? If you can shake it off, you're okay. As long as you make it through the night, you're okay. You're okay. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not injured. Many have and will continue to have problems. It can be helped, but only if it's recognized. I'm here to encourage TBI to be in all of our heads. I mean, not like literally, but figuratively. That we are constantly thinking about it. So when you come across somebody and you hear somebody say, I've tried it all, or I've got memory problems that don't seem to be helped, or I did experience an IED, or I was in an explosion, or I was in a car wreck, or I had a concussion, that suddenly that's a trigger for you to say, oh, that's a traumatic brain injury. Maybe you should hook up with Overton or Heather, or maybe you should get checked out. Because it's one of those things we need, in my mind, we need to be talking about a whole lot more. So, generally speaking, there are two types of veterans with TBI that you're going to come in contact with: those who know about it, and those that have one that don't know it yet. We're going to discuss those that know about it in a few minutes when we look at what to do. I want to spend a few minutes thinking about those who don't know that they have a TBI. For example, I mentioned keeping TBI in your head. I was working with a guy who was in Gillette, Wyoming, and nice guy, but we were working on a few minor things. He was seeing a psychiatrist, I think, for some depression. But he came in one time and he said, you know, I think I need some marriage counseling. I said, oh, well, that's kind of out of the blue. What's going on? He told me the story about this trip that he had taken from Gillette to Billings. And it's about 2, maybe 3 hours. And he says, you know, we usually get along great, but on that trip, I couldn't stand it. We got some horrible fights. By the time we got to Billings, we just turned around and left. And, you know, we followed the way back. That's just, I know you both, I just don't like you. What's going on? I don't know. It just came out of nowhere. Okay, that's one of those came out of nowhere, don't know what's going on, been in therapy, tried everything, and okay, let's go down this road. Turns out that he had a pretty significant head injury about 3 years earlier. Why would that